Good morning, grade 11. Let's start together the curriculum of quarter 4, okay? In quarter 4, we will talk about different topics. Topic number 1, testing positive ions and testing negative ions, testing gases, okay? Topic 2, electrolysis, which include electrolysis of molten salts and electrolysis of aqueous salts, okay? Also, we will talk about the basic of the galvanic cell, fuel cell, and the car battery, okay? Let's start with the testing ions. Before talking about the testing ions, okay, we must know the difference between element and compound. What I mean by element? Element, a simple pure form of matter that can't be analyzed into simpler form, where the compound, the substance resulting from the combination of two elements or more by the constant weight ratio, okay? We know that the number of non-elements until now, 124, okay, which 92 is found in Earth crust and the rest artificially prepared. The element inside the modern periodic table classified, okay, according to their physical properties and electronic structure into metal, non-metal, semi-metals or metalloids, and noble gases, okay? What is the difference between them? Metals, they are elements that characterized by presence of less than 4 electrons in their outermost energy levels, okay? And during a chemical reaction, metals tend to lose electron in outermost energy level and changing into positive ion, which carry the positive charge equal to the number of lost electrons, okay? While non-metal elements, they are elements that characterized by presence more than 4 electrons in their outermost energy level. During a chemical reaction, non-metal tend to gain electron or more to complete their outermost energy level and reach to stable state, okay, and change into negative ions that carry the number of negative charge equal to the number of gained electrons, okay. Group number 3, metalloids or semi-metals, they are elements that characterized by in between metals and non-metals. The last group in modern periodic table, noble gases, applies in group 18, which known as group 0, okay? And they are elements that characterized by completeness of their outermost energy level with electrons. So they can take part in the chemical reaction and they can't form any types of ion in ordinary state, okay? The compound, the definition of compound is a substance that resulted from combination element or more by the constant weight ratio. We can classify the chemical compound around us into 4 main groups, okay, which known as acids, bases, oxides, and salts. Let's start with acid, okay? What's meant by acid? Acid is a substance that dissociate in water and give hydrogen positive ion, okay, where the hydrogen positive ion responsible for the properties of acid, okay, like sour taste and changing litmus paper into red. We have many examples in acid in our daily life, like hydrochloric acid, HCl, hydrobromic acid, HBr, hydroiodic acid, HI, nitric acid, HNO3, sulfuric acid, H2SO4, carbonic acid, H2CO3, okay? So, acids are defined as any substance or any chemical compound that start with hydrogen positive ion, okay? And they can dissociate in water, can dissolve in water, giving hydrogen positive ion. The group number 2, or the type number 2 of compound, base, okay? Where the base defined as a type of chemical compound that end with hydroxide negative atomic group, okay? Or they are a chemical compound that dissociate in water giving hydroxide negative ion. where hydroxide negative ion responsible for bitter taste of base and changing bases litmus paper into blue. Okay. Also, we have some types of metal oxides known as basic oxide because they can dissolve in water, giving hydroxide negative ion, like sodium oxide, ferrous oxide, copper oxide. Okay, and we have also another examples of bases found in our daily life, like calcium hydroxide that found in lime water and magnesium hydroxide. Okay. Also, we have another type of compound known as oxides, okay, that result from combination of metal element or non-metal element with oxygen. So we have two types of oxides, metal oxides and non-metal oxides, okay? What is the difference between them? Metal oxides, the oxides that resulted from combination of metal element with oxygen, like sodium with oxygen giving us sodium oxide. Iron with oxygen giving us iron oxide, and so on, okay? And also, we have non-metal oxides that result from combination of non-metal element with oxygen, like carbon with oxygen give us carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide, okay? The last one of the chemical compound known as salt, okay? So salt means that a substance neither begin with the hydrogen positive ion nor ends with the hydroxide negative ion. Okay, when you look at the structure of the salt or the chemical formula of the salt, okay, when the substance not begin with the hydrogen positive ion or not end with the hydroxide negative ion, so the substance in front of you is salt. And we have a countless number of salt in our daily life, okay? From the examples of salt, we have in ACl sodium chloride, okay, which known as table salt, potassium nitrate KNO3, okay, magnesium sulfate MgSO4, okay, ammonium chloride NH4Cl, okay. In this lesson, we will talk about the structure of the salt, okay? We note that any salt consists of two main parts. Basic radical, which is known as positive ion or called cation, and it is written first in the chemical formula of the salt, and the second part of the salt known as acidic radical, which called the negative ion or called anion, and it is written the second, okay? So, again, any salt consists of two parts, basic radical and acidic radical. The basic radical written first, the acidic radical written second. Basic radical express the positive ion, which known as a cation inside the salt, okay? While the acidic radical express the negative ion or anion in the structure of the salt. Application. How can determine the basic radical or acidic radical in the following salt? Let's start with what is the basic radical of the following salts. We have 5 salts in front of you. We have potassium nitrate, sodium carbonate, copper sulfate, magnesium sulfate, calcium acetate, okay? The basic radical, the positive ion of the salt, okay? Look at the salt in front of you. We note that the basic radical, which written first, potassium. So potassium is a basic radical of the salt. In this case, the salt number 2, the basic radical, sodium, okay, which written first. In salt number 3, calcium sulfate, the basic radical, which is known as cation. In this case, copper is a basic radical. Salt number 4, magnesium sulfate, the basic radical, magnesium, positive ion. Salt number 5, calcium acetate, the basic radical, which is known as cation. In this case, calcium, positive ion. Okay, so we look at the first part of the salt, which expresses the basic radical of the salt. What will anion of the following salt? Write its name and its formula. Look at the salts in front of you. How can you determine the anion in the following salts, okay? The anion or the acidic radical of the salt written second. It is written second, okay? So the second part of the salt is considered the anion or acidic radical, okay? Look at the salt number 1, the anion nitrate group. Its name, nitrate atomic group, okay? It's a formula NO3. Number 2, the salt number 2, the anion, in this case carbonate group. Its chemical formula CO3. Number 3, salt number 3, the anion or the acidic radical of this salt, sulfate, SO4. Salt number 4, also magnesium sulfate, the anion SO4, which is known as the negative ion. And the last one, calcium acetate, the anion in this case CH3COO, okay, which considered a negative ion or anion of the salt, okay. Also, the salt can classified into 2 types according to their ability to dissolve in water into soluble salt and insoluble salts, okay. Soluble salts, the salts can dissolve in water and form the aqueous solution. Like what? All sodium salts, all potassium salts, all ammonium salts. Any salt begin with sodium, any salt begin with potassium, any salt begin with ammonium, okay? Soluble salts are soluble salts, okay? And also all nitrates salt, any salt end with nitrate group, NO3, soluble is soluble salt. Also all chlorides, all salts ends with chlorine negative ion except 2 salts, silver chloride and lead chloride, AgCl and PbCl, okay? Both of them insoluble salts. Also all sulfates, any salt end with sulfate group, SO4 atomic group, okay? Soluble salts except 3 salts, barium sulfate, lead sulfate, calcium sulfate. Where barium sulfate, its chemical formula BaSO4, lead sulfate PbSO4, calcium sulfate CaSO4. All of them are insoluble salts, okay? And also all carbonate salt are insoluble salt. Any salt end with carbonate group, end with CO3, okay, is insoluble salt except 3 salts, sodium carbonate, potassium carbonate, ammonium carbonate, okay? Sodium carbonate, potassium carbonate, and the ammonium carbonate can dissolve in water and form soluble salts. The chemical formula of sodium carbonate, Na2CO3. The chemical formula of potassium carbonate, K2CO3. And the chemical formula of ammonium carbonate, NH4 by 2CO3. Okay? Thank you, grade 11, and goodbye.